Welcome back to Music Kingdom. As a non-metalhead, I still know a fair amount about some bands like Metallica, Tool, Iron Maiden, etc. However, between you and me, when it comes to the band Slipknot, I know absolutely nothing. Like, other than the masks and stuff, nada. Zip. I mean, to be fair, I know they are metal. I know that they got their start in the late 90s and blossomed in the early 2000s. So truth be told, I suppose I don't literally know nothing about them, but otherwise. And so, in this video, we will be listening to, giving a music theory breakdown for, and blindly reviewing Duality by Slipknot. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, my name is Francis. If you are a fellow nerd for music, such as myself, and you appreciate not just reactions, but in-depth reviews and analysis of songs, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And of course, due to copyright claims, my videos are not monetized, so if you'd like to support the hard work I put into them, you'll find a link to Music Kingdom's tip jar in the description and comments below. As well as commissions that are now open. Not only am I doing personalized reviews of songs and albums sent directly to you, but now you are also able to commission any song of your choice to be reviewed right here on YouTube for everyone else to see as well. So don't hesitate. Again, the link is in the description and comments below. Alright, now before we give the song a listen, first let's briefly talk Duality by Slipknot. Duality is from Slipknot's third studio album titled Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, released in 2004. The album received generally positive reviews, praised for its dedication, and referred to as a triumph. The album peaked within the top 10 in album sales across 11 countries, went platinum in the United States, and even received a Grammy Award for one of its songs. Before the release of Volume 3, band members had promised a more experimental album. Their drummer described it as a mix between Slayer and Radiohead. Following the band's tour to promote their second album back in 2002, speculation regarding their future began. Some band members had already been involved in side projects. Corey Taylor, for example, was drinking heavily, so on and so forth. Nevertheless, the band managed to write more than enough material for a new album, and Volume 3 is credited as Slipknot's first to incorporate more traditional melodic song structures, guitar solos, and acoustic instruments. Now, regarding the song itself, unlike many previous Slipknot singles, Duality does not have profanity. Interestingly, Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, is actually Slipknot's first album that does not warrant a parental advisory label, mainly because the lyrics of Volume 3, compared to other Slipknot albums, are much less explicit in terms of profanity and obscure dark themes. Thomson explained in a 2008 interview that vocalist Taylor was relying on explicit content in the lyrics, and wanted to try something different. This was echoed by Jim Root in a 2011 interview, saying that Duality's lyrics aren't unique to Slipknot, but described it as otherwise strong. In the 2004 Metal Edge Reader's Choice Awards, Duality was voted Song of the Year and Music Video of the Year. As recently as 2020, both Kerrang! And Louder Sound ranked the song number 5 and number 3 respectively on their lists of the greatest Slipknot songs of all time. At long last, it's time we give the song a listen, and just a heads up, I will be pausing to share my thoughts, but ultimately to avoid any copyright strikes. And as always, be sure to stick around after the song for a music theory breakdown from our expert, and then we're going to divide the song into specific categories, grading them each, averaging them out, and arriving at an overall score.
I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache, but it's made of all the things I have to take.
There it is.
Jesus never ends and pushes its way inside. If the pain goes on,
I love an intro. Interesting composition. Ooh.
I have screamed until my face collapsed. I've waited as my time's elapsed.
I love that transition.
Live with so much fate. I've wished for to this, I've bitched to that. I've left behind this little fact. You cannot kill what you did not create. I've gotta say what I've gotta say, and then I swear I'll go away. But
solid production too.
Enjoy the noise.
Very 2000s, but in a good way.
It just seems like one big pass. You're left with me because you left me no choice. I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing.
They do a good job of taking you back, bringing it all together. Ooh.
Or separate the skin from
very well produced.
The pieces, then you can leave me alone. Tell me the reality is better than the dream, but I found out the hard way. I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops me.
Thoughts so far? This is a very unique song, which I like. As mentioned, I do think the production is very strong. I think the vocals are strong as well. Compositionally, it kind of trips me up sometimes, so I'm not really sure, but I like how interesting the composition is. Otherwise though, in terms of what perhaps impresses me the most would actually be the writing. I think the lyrics in this song are very tasteful, very artistic, very creative, very authentic, expressive, and admittedly, being someone who knows next to nothing about Slipknot, I wasn't sure where exactly their strengths are, and I realized this is just one song in particular, and I'm not listening to a lot of their other stuff, but just based off of this, their writing has taken me by surprise the most. Because obviously, given their genre, their reputation, one can assume, to some extent, what it's going to sound like. Either way, just my thoughts to this point, and I'm very curious to see which direction it goes and how it ends. Strong vocals. I like the sound effect that's produced to simulate the ER.
All I've got is insane. 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 All I've got is insane.
Ooh.
I push my fingers into my
There.
It's the only thing that slowly stops me.
Very unique bridge, but I like how it's all put together. I'm not sure what I was expecting from my first Slipknot experience, but I don't know if it was this. The drumming keeps tripping me out, but it's very well done. Strong vocals, once again. Oh, okay. Alright, initial thoughts before we go to the experts corner and before grading the song. Personally speaking, I am a bit torn. On one hand, honestly, I didn't really love the song. On the other hand, for many of the aforementioned reasons, I am very impressed by the song. And I can already hear your comments in my head, so I do apologize, because I'm sure there are Slipknot fans out there who would simply say, well dude, you picked the wrong song to start with as your first impression. And in response to that, I do want to reassure you, I am not basing my entire opinion on Slipknot off of one song. If I were to show any of you some of my most favorite artists or bands in the history of music, and I got one song to do it and you didn't like it, I would say, well, of course, I mean, you have so many others to choose from. So I do get it, and I'm not trying to piss anyone off. But yeah, I do think this was a good song, just not necessarily up my alley, however, simultaneously appreciating the artistry that goes into it. Now, regarding more specific critical thoughts pertaining to production, writing, originality, etc., I will be discussing those a bit more in depth as I'm breaking apart the song and grading it. But first, let's go to the Expert's Corner for a music theory breakdown and to see how he grades the song's composition.
Welcome to the Expert's Corner. This is Duality by Slipknot, and I'm here to give it a composition score. This one's in the time signature of 4/4, and it's in the key of B minor. So this song has two main riffs. There are more riffs throughout the song, but these are like the two major ones. The first one's from the very beginning. It's just like this. Very foreboding, very dark, very cool. The other one, it's my favorite because it's very syncopated, and I love syncopation. It's the one that's like da 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 da. I was just gonna play it again. I could just keep playing it forever because it's got that really punchy staccato syncopation. And rhythm aside, the notes themselves, there's a dissonance, there's a cool. It's just very metal. It's Slipknot. So compositionally, I wouldn't put this song in the Hall of Fame. That being said, it has some really cool stuff. It's a tight, well-crafted song, and it has some really cool stuff. I think for me, it's the rhythmic aspect of its composition that gives it some extra points. This song is full of just cool little tight rhythms, syncopations. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the drumming. The double kick work is like, I was gonna say music to my ears, which is stupid, but it's music to my ears in both senses of the phrase. For this song specifically, I would just say that the composition wasn't meant to be the star of the show. It's got a lot of other great things going for it. I thought the vocals were really good. I'd say it's more about the overall feel, the mood, the vibe of the song, which it delivers on very well. All of that being said, I'm still going to give this song a good 7 out of 10. Back to you, Francis.
A very special thank you to our expert for providing a music theory breakdown and giving the song's composition a good but not quite great 7 out of 10. I will also be taking this opportunity to remind you that commissions are now open. I have loved being introduced to your song and album recommendations. Talking about music is obviously one of my most favorite things. However, being introduced or otherwise discovering music that is new to me is right up there as well. And of course, that being said, I am very excited to see which songs you guys choose for me to review on this channel. Once again, you'll find the link in the description and comments below. And now it's time to divide the song into 4 more categories, grading them each, averaging them out, and arriving at an overall score. Starting off with the category of production specifically, I will say I was more impressed with this song's production than I was anticipating. And no, that is not a backhanded compliment by any means, it's just that with the genres of hard rock or metal, it's going to be more minimalist, it's going to be more simple, which to quite an extent in this song, it still is. However, despite being simple, despite being minimalist, I do think the production in this song was very unique, that they did go the extra mile. I thought the production was very intricate. I thought it was very complex. Managing to produce and mix all of it in such a way, for me, was really impressive. In addition to other sound effects kind of layered throughout the song, the effect on the vocals, how the instruments work so well together, I mean, that is all a producer's job. Once again, however, nothing necessarily mind-blowing, still kind of working within the confines of what the genre allows, but even still pushing it. All that said, I think the production was great, which will be reflected by an 8 out of 10. Up next, we have the category of lyrics. As already mentioned, the lyrics are what impressed me most about this song. I think they were very pretty, and I'm not sure if that's a welcome adjective to use for a band like Slipknot, but yes, I do think they were pretty. I think they were very well penned. Is the delivery of them aggressive? Absolutely. Is the aesthetic of the song loud? Of course. But at least speaking for myself, when you read along to the lyrics or when you really tune into them with your ears, you're like, Oh my god. I mean, sure, at some points they get a little bit redundant or repetitive, but that's just how it is in most songs and music anyway. Very expressive, very vulnerable. They flowed beautifully while effectively telling a story, no issues with rhyming. Sometimes with lyrics, they might be about something cool, but they don't really flow, or they might flow and rhyme well, but the meaning is pointless. This song, in my opinion, has lyrics that effectively do everything well. I don't just think the lyrics to this song are great. I think they are very great. I think they were surprisingly great, which will be reflected by an 8.5 out of 10. After that, we've got the category of vocals, which for me were the most challenging to sort of assess, to sort of feel out. Initially, I was going to go with a good 7 out of 10 for the vocals, simply because when he is singing, they are pretty, they are nice enough. When he's not singing, and perhaps it's one of those parts where he's doing a spoken word style, that's very welcome, that's very cool, that's very unique. And then of course there are those more impressive moments when he's damn near breaking his voice, belting and or screaming, that you most certainly have to take into account. If I'm grading just that, it's going to be an 8.5 or perhaps a 9 because, I mean, duh. But you have to combine and weigh everything. How impressive are vocals that you're just speaking like spoken word, albeit original? How impressive is it when you're singing well enough, but not necessarily in a realm of singing that a lot of other people can't do? So all of that was my logic in giving it a 7. However, I do think there is something to be said for basically having 3 different vocal styles in one song, keeping it fresh, kind of having this loop of them. If it's not spoken word, it's the singing. If it's not the singing, it's the belting. If it's not the belting, it's the screaming. If it's not the screaming, it's the spoken word, and so on. I do think that approach should be acknowledged and celebrated. And so all that in mind, I'm going from a good 7 out of 10 to, honestly, a great 8 out of 10. Those little things matter. Alright, arriving at our final category of originality. As often mentioned on this channel, when I think about originality in regards to music specifically, it can look like a lot of different things. For me, originality in music can look like historical significance, achieving something that no one else has done before, therefore being original. It can also look like creative expression. It can also look like inspiration. It can also look like authenticity, just under that larger umbrella of originality. And so you look at a song like this, which in my opinion is very vulnerable, is very authentic, is very unique. There really isn't much out there that sounds like it. It has a very distinctive style to it. And despite not sacrificing any authenticity for the sake of being catchy and doing the song the way you want to do the song creatively, even still, it was a magnificent success. That is not easy to do, at least in my opinion. And so for all of the aforementioned reasons, I think the originality is very great. Not quite in the realm of a 9 or a 10, which would be something mind-blowing and historic, but certainly better than just good. And so, all that said, I'm landing at an 8.5 out of 10. So now if we add it all up, including the expert's composition score, and average it out, Duality by Slipknot from their 3rd studio album titled Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, released in 2004, gets an exact great 8 out of 10. Surprisingly, as you guys could see, there really wasn't a lot of variety in the numbers this time around. In case you're new to the channel, sometimes a category is a 9, but then it's a 6.5, and then it's an 8.5, and then it's a 7. Whereas with this one, it kind of just felt like 8, 8, 8, 8. Oh, what's the final score? 8. But anyways, for all of the aforementioned reasons in this video, I think an 8 sounds about right. This is a great song. Now, subjectively speaking, if I'm talking about my own enjoyment as the listener, it just wasn't really my cup of tea. And that's the cool thing about doing this channel is a lot of songs I'm introduced to are way up my alley, and a lot of songs otherwise are just not. But of course, that will never get in the way of me putting on that critic's hat, being as subjectively objective or as objectively subjective as possible, and grading the song with as little of my own bias in the way as possible. But of course, at the end of the day, that is just my own assessment, so in the comments below, let me know whether you think my score is right on the money, batshit crazy, or somewhere in between, as well as what other songs by Slipknot or whoever else you would like for this channel to review next. As mentioned, if you are a fellow nerd for music such as myself, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you'd like to support the hard work I put into my videos, you'll find a link to Music Kingdom's tip jar in the description and comments below, as well as, you guessed it, commissions which are now open. So do not hesitate to send me a song or album you want my thoughts on sent directly back to you. Or of course, you can also go big and pick what you'd like to see reviewed on this channel. This has been another edition of Music Kingdom. Thank you so much for listening with me, and I'll look forward to jamming with you in the next one.